I'm 96 years old and I don't take a single pill. Yes, you heard that right. No morning capsules, no evening pills, not for emergencies, not even sublingually. And every time I mention this, people look at me in disbelief. How is that possible? They ask. And I smile and simply reply, I'm just busy. These 4 simple actions every morning, and that's it. I'm an old man who has survived 2 wars, the loss of family, and countless winters when my joints ached so badly I felt like screaming. I've also taken a lot of medication for various reasons, until I realized they treat the symptom but take away the strength. I didn't want to be the person who couldn't leave the house without a handful of pills in my pocket. Today, as I approach my 100th birthday, I wake up at 6 in the morning without an alarm clock. I can feel my body kick into gear like a little engine. My heart beats steadily, my mind is clear, and my legs feel alive. And it's all thanks to 4 simple things that I do every morning. They don't require any money, special circumstances, or the willpower of an Olympian. They only demand one thing, the desire to be alive. Do you want to know what those things are? I'll tell you, but later. First, let me tell you how I got there. Because before clear mornings, there are always long, dark evenings. Before I begin, drop a comment and let me know how many pills you take every day. Now let's get started with my story. By the time I hit my 90s, I felt like I was slowly but surely becoming the old man I'd always feared I'd turn into. Not in terms of my age on paper, but in how I felt. I woke up in the morning already tired. My legs felt heavy, as if they had been filled with lead overnight. My feet throbbed like after a long march. My lower back ached so badly that I had to stand by the bed for a few minutes before I could muster the courage to take my first step. And when I did, my heart would start pounding in my temples, and I felt a wave of fear. What if my blood pressure spiked again? Sleep became restless. I would wake up 5 or 6 times a night, sometimes from thirst, sometimes from pain in my legs, and sometimes just out of nowhere in the dark, filled with an anxiety I couldn't explain. During the day I would doze off, but at night I couldn't fall asleep. Food didn't bring me any joy. My stomach would bloat. I felt a burning sensation from heartburn, and my bowel movements were irregular. My joints would crack with every bend. And most importantly, I wanted to get up less and less. Not because I was lazy, but because I saw no point in it. I became a regular visitor at the clinic. They prescribed medication for my blood pressure. Stomach issues require other tablets. For joints, there are ointments and capsules. Nervousness calls for a mild sedative. Soon I realized that not even an hour goes by without me taking something. I lived by a schedule. This is for meals, this is for after, this is for bedtime. And what was the result? Just weakness. The side effects piled up on each other. I felt like I wasn't being treated, but rather poisoned. Yes, I was kind of watching my health, but each day I felt worse and worse. And one day I collapsed. I simply walked to the mailbox, leaned down, and fell face first into the ground. I didn't lose consciousness. I just couldn't hold myself up. My neighbor helped me get up and walk me home. I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back at me. A gray face, slumped shoulders, and eyes devoid of spark. That evening, I settled into my chair and said to myself, "This can't go on." The pills didn't bring my life back. Maybe it's time to try something completely different. After that fall, I barely left the house for a few days. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to. It wasn't the fracture or the bruise that held me back. It was shame. Here I was, an adult man, a soldier, the head of a family, falling at my own doorstep like an old sack. And I realized I'm not really living. I'm just getting by. And it's not because of my age. It's because every morning I woke up not with the breath of life, not with the sun shining, and not with thoughts of the day ahead, but with pills and fear. I started to remember what I used to be like, how I would wake up early feeling light in my body, curious about what the day would bring. I wanted to regain at least a glimpse of that state of mind. I didn't know where to start, but I was sure of one thing. Things couldn't go on like this any longer. So I made what was probably the most important decision of the past few years. I stopped starting my day with medication. I didn't quit cold turkey. No, I'm not that foolish. I approached it wisely. I just took a moment to pause. I removed the pills from the nightstand, and I asked myself, what would I do if I were younger? The answer came surprisingly easily. I would drink some water, stretch, take a sip of something warm, and breathe deeply. I started jotting down what gives me strength, what makes my body feel lighter and my thoughts clearer. I tried, I made mistakes, and I learned from them. After a couple of weeks, I noticed that I was waking up feeling more refreshed. After a month, I started falling asleep better. And after 2 months, I had cut back on almost all my medications. Right now, my morning is not a medical procedure. It's a ritual. 4 simple actions that make me who I am. No side effects, no chemicals, no dependencies. They not only restored my health, but also my dignity. Now I'll tell you about these 4 things. The first thing I do every morning, even before I wash my face and sit down in my chair, is drink one simple yet surprisingly powerful beverage. Warm water with lemon and a pinch of regular sea salt. Sounds funny, doesn't it? No coffee, no tea. Just water. But not just any water, rather the kind that warms the soul from within. I pour a glass of water that's warm, not boiling, but slightly hotter than body temperature. I squeeze in the juice of a quarter of a fresh, juicy lemon, not from a bottle. Then I add just a pinch of natural sea salt, not iodized, using the tip of a knife. I'm stirring with a wooden spoon. I sip slowly while sitting by the window. I watch the sun rise and drink. What does that feel like? This water boosts circulation, stimulates the stomach, and gets the intestines moving. I used to struggle with constipation, bloating, and heaviness in my abdomen. After a week of drinking this water in the mornings, my stools became soft, just like in my younger days. My stomach isn't bloated anymore, and that heavy stone-like silence inside is gone. Salt helps retain water in the cells rather than flushing it out. This is especially important as we age. When you just drink water, it tends to pass right through. But when you add salt, it stays and hydrates the joints, skin, and eyes. Lemon is a natural liver stimulant, helps with alkaline balance, and is a source of vitamin C. Since I started drinking this water, my morning headaches, which I used to blame on high blood pressure, have disappeared. It turned out it was dehydration. Now I can't imagine my mornings without this drink. It's simple, but that's the key. To energy, to lightness, to inner purity. And every time I drink it, I feel like I'm turning myself on like a lamp. Slowly, gently, without any sudden movements. After I finish my warm glass of water, I don't rush to breakfast, turn on the TV, or grab my phone. I stand by the window, open it, even in winter, just for a minute, and begin my morning routine. Without music, without an instructor, without any fitness regimen. It's just me, the silence, and my joints waiting to be awakened. I start with my neck, making slow turns and tilts, breathing in and out. Then I move on to my shoulders. I roll them forward and backward, as if shaking off the weight of the night. Next are my elbows, wrists, and fingers. Each joint goes through its own awakening. Next, I focus on my pelvis, knees, and feet. This takes no more than 10 minutes. But in those 10 minutes, it feels like I'm rediscovering my body. As I move, I breathe. Breathe only through your nose. Slowly. Inhale for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Deeply, but without tension. At first, it seemed trivial. But after a week, I realized it's the breath that changes everything. It reduces anxiety, clears the mind, and fills the body with oxygen. Especially in the morning, when the lungs are still waking up, this breathing feels like the first stretch for the soul. In the first few days, I felt ridiculous. But then I started to notice some changes. A lightness in my back. The pain in my lower back faded away. Less cracking in my knees. And most importantly, I gained stability. I stopped tripping. I became more confident when standing and found it easier to get up from a chair. This isn't a workout or a sport. It's a meeting with yourself, gentle and respectful. I'm not focused on the number of movements. I listen to my body, and every time it says thank you for not forgetting about me. Right now, this is my second morning anchor. I take a deep breath, slowly roll my shoulders, and feel. Here I am, alive, warm, moving. No meds, no pain. With breathing and movement. After some water and warm-up, I prepare what my grandson calls Grandpa's elixir, a tea that warms not just the body, but the soul. This drink has become my third morning ritual. It doesn't just energize me, it's like sending a signal to my body. You're safe. Everything is going smoothly. I take a piece of fresh ginger, about the size of my pinky finger, peel it, and grate it on a fine grater. I pour boiling water over it, cover it with a lid, and let it sit for about 5 minutes. Then I add a teaspoon of honey, not the store-bought kind, but real thick honey that smells like a beehive. And finally, just 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. The good stuff, with sediment, just like our grandparents taught us. The flavor is unlike that of regular tea. It's a bit spicy, tangy, with a warm sweetness at the end. But from the very first sip, your body responds. A gentle warmth spreads from your stomach, across your chest, and into your shoulders. It's like someone is straightening your back from the inside. I used to get sick every year. I would catch a cold at the first draft, sore throat, cough, fever, and then antibiotics, a heavy feeling in my stomach, a week spent in bed. But it's been 3 years since I started drinking this tea every morning, and I haven't been sick since, even in winter, even after a walk in the cold. No pharmacy needed. Just ginger, honey, and vinegar. Ginger is a powerful natural anti-inflammatory that improves circulation and warms the joints from the inside. Honey supports the immune system and acts as a natural antiseptic. Vinegar helps to detoxify, thins the blood, and aids digestion, especially at our age when everything slows down. Together, they are like an orchestra where each person plays their part, but in the end, it creates a beautiful harmony. This tea is my morning ritual. I sip it while gazing out the window, slowly, with gratitude, and I can feel it. I feel good. I'm alive, and I don't need any pills to feel that way. As I finish my tea, my body has already awakened. My blood is pumping, and my breathing has become steady. But I've noticed that it's not enough. You can feel physically energized, but if your mind is filled with noise, anxiety, or regrets, the day will still go off track. That's why the fourth thing I do every morning might seem surprising. I sit down with a regular notebook, worn out and with a leather cover, and I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. Sometimes it's something simple. I woke up without pain. I had a delicious cup of tea. Birds are singing outside my window. Sometimes it's something profound. I remembered my wife's voice. My grandson sent a photo. I still have another day. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is to notice. Write it down, acknowledge it. When I first started, it seemed silly to me. Why write? What will this achieve? But just a week later, I realized my mind felt clearer, and there was a sense of calm inside. Fewer anxious thoughts, less irritation. Most importantly, I started to feel like I was living with purpose. Every day is valuable, even if it's filled with the challenges of aging, pains, and limitations. It's my day. Since I adopted this simple ritual, my internal tension has lessened. My blood pressure has stabilized. I found it easier to fall asleep, and I'm not snapping as much. The resentment about getting older, being lonely, and feeling like life has passed me by has disappeared. Because I've started to see, life is still happening. Right now. And every morning there's a chance to say to her, "Thank you." This notebook isn't a diary, it's an anchor. He keeps me grounded in a reality where there's not just age, but also meaning. A place where I don't just exist, but notice, feel, and truly live. When I tell someone about my morning routine, they often say, "Is that it? Water, exercise, tea, and some notes?" I smile and reply, "It's not just that. It's all about that." You see, each of these actions on its own is simple. But when they come together, day after day, they create a system that functions better than any first aid kit. These 4 things have become more than just a routine for me. They have become my body, my mind, and my soul, all in sync with one rhythm. A glass of warm water with lemon awakens the body from within. It's like turning on a tap that lets energy flow. Stretching and deep breathing kickstart movement, filling every cell with oxygen, easing stiffness, and dispelling the fear of falling. Ginger tea with vinegar boosts circulation, strengthens the immune system, and raises body temperature, making me feel youthful again, like I can walk in the cold without a hat. A gratitude journal helps me put everything in perspective, where I am, why I'm here, and what I already have to be thankful for. It's not magic. It's a rhythm. It's the foundation on which each of my days stands. And it's exactly that which gives me what pills can't: clarity, lightness, inner peace. Right now, I don't see age as an enemy. I look at it as a wise companion, someone I can coexist with in harmony. Those morning rituals are my way of showing myself. I won't abandon myself. I choose to be. And as long as I do this every morning, I'm living. Sometimes in the evenings I sit by the window, watching it get dark, seeing the wind sway the trees, and I think, what have I really done that's so special to feel alive at 96? I'm not a hero, not an athlete, not a professor. I'm a person who once decided to stop fearing old age and started with the simplest thing, the morning. We often look for complicated solutions to simple problems. We think that health can be bought in a capsule, in a jar, or through advertisements. But it lives within us, as long as we don't forget about it. You know what the paradox is? Everything I'm doing right now is what our ancestors have always done. They woke up early, drank water, reached for the sun, had warm infusions, and prayed. Not because it was trendy, because it worked. Because the body craves rhythm, peace, warmth, and meaning. When I stopped taking my morning pills, I didn't start a revolution. I simply reclaimed my right to be the master of my own body. I stopped handing over control to instructions and started listening to myself again. After all, the body is wise. It will tell us what it needs if we stop silencing it. My 4 morning actions aren't a method. It's not just a system. It's care. Simple, warm, like a blanket on your lap. It's my way of telling myself, you matter to me, not because I want to live to 100, but because I want to truly experience each remaining day, not on autopilot, not in a fog of pills, but by genuinely feeling, moving, and being grateful. Old age is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to live more mindfully, more deeply. Shh. And if anyone says that this is too easy, I'll respond, yes. That's exactly why it works. Now, if you've made it this far, I want to ask you a question. What do you do every morning? Do you have any simple rituals or habits that support you not because a doctor prescribed them, but because you feel that they make you feel lighter, calmer, and more alive? Maybe you also drink lemon water, or do you rub your knees with some homemade oil? Maybe you just sit in silence and look out the window while the city hasn't woken up yet. Write about that. Share your story. Because it's these simple things, passed from one person to another, that are the true riches. It's not an advertisement, not a miracle drug, not a flashy headline, but rather something that truly works in life, in our real, adult, quiet, yet profoundly deep life. And if anyone reading your comment finds within it a sense of morning, strength, or hope, then it all was worth it.